right, this is Dinking Around. I'm your host, Brant Weiss, with my darling co-host, Charles. Darling, I'm lying. He's not here right now, but we have him on the monitor. Charles couldn't make it today. That's okay. I'm here with my good friend, John Ibanez. He's somebody I go to confine all things pickleball. He's a wizard. He's on it 24/7. John, how long have you been playing pickleball for? It's been like 6 months now.
Yeah, six months because of you. Yes,
because of Christmas. How did we get into that?
Like, how did we get started exactly? I think.
Yeah, it was a give. Wait, it was like
it was in November.
We did a drawing or something. How would you describe that?
How we started?
There was jars.
Okay. I got.
Yeah. Sorry,
okay.
Guys, I'm stupid. And Charles told me 20 minutes ago that it wasn't going to show up, and it threw me all off. That's okay. Bye.
No, yeah. So, we had our Halloween party, and one of the things we were trying to do with the party was try to create, communities. And so we had several different kind of categories of communities, and we had people kind of vote, hey, what are some things you're interested in? Book club, things like that. And pickleball was on there because you had talked it up a bit ago. And I think with you talking it up and kind of the momentum of it, we put that in as an item of, hey, does anyone want to try pickleball? And that became the number one vote.
And then
and then
20 people signed up for it.
Oh yeah. Ton of people signed up for it. We ordered paddles either that night or the next day from Amazon. And then I think, that jives. About 2 days later, the paddles arrived, and it wasn't even my paddles that I played with that day. It was my brother's paddles. So I played with those, and you said, hey, you want to come out? We talked about it, come out, and that's how we started playing.
Yeah, and it took about 2 full days before they were better than I was.
I mean, some of that is the prior tennis experience. So a lot of my tennis instincts kicked in, just movement, all that kind of stuff. Fitness level was really bad, was really low. But those, what do you want to call them? Muscle memory for tennis stuff, all that kicked in. So, hitting shots, all that came through naturally. I had to dial it back a bit because they were all going out. But, after a while, that helped definitely with the transition to pickleball.
Yeah, I mean, guys, we started pickleball. He started around Christmas time. I started 2 months before that. We've gone from him playing in a tournament recently and me starting a pickleball podcast. So I don't know what it is about pickleball, but we love it. Today, what I wanted to talk about, guys, there is a lot of big news going on in the world of pickleball. John definitely knows more than I do. I don't even know where we start with this. I mean, it's between the PPA and the MLP. And for those of you who don't know, the MLP is a professional pickleball league that's team format based. And the PPA is more of a traditional tour style tournament setting. And John, feel free to jump in anytime. But I would say a year ago, the PPA and the MLP, they were kind of working on a plan to team up with each other. They were allowing their players to work in.
I'd say cordial would probably be because I think at the time, looking at the history of it, there weren't PPA players playing for MLP. And so at some point they came to an agreement and said, hey,
that was the first year of MLP, right?
I since we got in so recently, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I couldn't go that far back, but in terms of, at least when we started to watch, it was their kind of first time that PPA players were playing in MLP, allowed to play in MLP. And so that's the history of where they were. I'd say cordial as an agreement because at the time I thought this was a precursor to what might happen with them in the future. And then things started to change recently, and I don't know what the catalyst for was. It I'm not what do you want to call that in the loop, right?
Yeah.
And just from what I can see as a I'd say, I was going to say casual, but recognizing that I'm nerding out on pickleball news is probably doesn't make me
casual.
Not casual. Does not make me a casual fan. So from a more than casual fan standpoint, looking at it and seeing, wow, there's a lot of changes going on, and MLP and PPA are signing players. I'd see, on Instagram, these little cards that are like signed this player, and it's almost like it was a little, what do you want to call it, like a arms race where
yes.
MLP's posting 10 players, PPA's counter posting another 10 players, and it just kept going and going, and I had wondered when it was going to end.
Yeah, guys, this all happened last week. It was during the Kansas City
Kansas
Open.
City PPA.
Yeah, the PPA tournament. And so from what I've read, and I haven't really talked to any of the players about this, but from what I've read is, so the owner of the MLP, I think he's the owner, Steve Kuhn, went radio silent for 4 days prior to this agreement that him and Connor Pardo, who's the owner of the PPA, were going to make. And then he just went radio silent. Connor's like, what's going on? Right. We're about to strike a deal. And then the MLP released that they were signing Tyson McGuffin. It was top-notch management. A lot of those athletes.
It happened fast. And so, I'd say from a more than casual fans perspective, what I liked about the news was less about, okay, who had more players, this and that.
Yeah.
What I liked about it was, I think like any emerging sport, at the time when we were getting into it and I was, starting to heavy follow it, there wasn't money in pickleball. Players had to teach a lot, and do all kinds of ways to supplement their income. And from what I heard with these contracts, it appeared that, hey, now they're going to be paid pretty well. They would have paid time off, benefits, all that kind of stuff. And so, there's definitely some differences between MLP and PPA in terms of, how they structured some of their deals. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it sounds like there are some differences. But, again, like competition, right? When one competitor starts to offer other benefits to these players, now you have to counteroffer.
Well, that's what the PPA was playing catch up for the next 3 days because the MLP had a head start. They obviously were thinking about this prior to and had planned out exactly what they were going to do. The PPA is just saying, oh, well, we'll make you a better deal. My biggest thing is, you guys can look up what happened. That you can read far better than I'm explaining. I'm terrible at it. But the implications and where are they getting this? I know the MLP has a lot of money. You have billionaire investors left and right. Owning the teams. The PPA, I don't really know the money behind it.
I think Pickleball Central, I think they own Pickleball Central.
Oh, okay.
And so they're getting revenue from Pickleball Central.
Okay, so they both have big checks.
Yeah. So, well, one of them is, right, Pickleball Central it's generating income from sales of products, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas on the MLP side, right, it does feel like it's very investor driven. And so you're getting a lot of investment. And I know some of their valuations are really high of a lot of these teams. And so there's this, it reminds me a little bit of like Uber and stuff where you're getting a lot of money in and you're kind of breaking boundaries.
Yeah.
And then you figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
And so, with Uber, granted, Uber is, I'd say, a more of a unique scenario, but because they didn't have really a competitor. I guess your competitor was taxis. Yeah. Whereas, in MLP, you've got MLP and PPA, another league going on. And from that more casual fan perspective, and since we did go to kind of, we went to APP, we didn't go to a PPA tournament together. We went to both an APP and MLP. And personally, I've really enjoyed that MLP team format.
Yeah.
Just because it coming from a little bit of tennis, it feels different than tennis.
Yes.
Pickleball is not tennis, right? And PPA modeled their tournament style, like tennis. And then, just seeing even in terms of, tennis news for they have, I forget the name of the documentary. There's a tennis documentary on Netflix. And a lot of the things that I picked up on was tennis style of life is lonely. You're going to tournaments by yourself, maybe a doubles partner, and you just keep traveling, you keep doing that. And to me, I'm like, well, that sucks.
Yeah. The MLP just reminds me of just American bleeding red, white, and blue, drinking beers, watching, fan hype noise. It's everything you want in a sporting event. It's like combining the NFL, but putting that into pickleball.
Yeah, and I think to me that's where, for me, the love of pickleball is that community. In that, okay, hey, because of your closeness on the court, it also can create this, I'd say, unique scenario where your fans are also close as well, because tennis courts are huge, and so there's to me that disconnect between you, the fan, and the player, whereas the pickleball courts are much smaller, and then the fans are also much closer. So when we'd go, we'd watch, and
we're walking right by everyone.
Exactly. Yeah, and we get to cheer them on, and again, from the MLP side, in terms of memory, right? And it's a new sport. I can't remember every player's name, but I can remember the team. Yeah. The New York Hustlers, Seattle Pioneers, Arizona Drive. I can remember them. I can't remember exactly who's playing on them.
You're pretty good at it. You're better than I am.
But I think, what's why I've liked the MLP style, from, again, how things shake out in terms of as the sport grows, I don't really know, but on what we've seen as a model with other sports, it's much easier to remember the Arizona Cardinals than it is to remember, maybe a particular linebacker on the Cardinals.
That's my biggest thing is, what are the implications of this? Like, is this good for pickleball in general that this went awry? Is it worse for pickleball because you have talent just kind of spread out? I know we had talked about that before.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that it's hard to say, right? Because pickleball is so new. There is no, it feels like the Wild West. You just figure it out as you go. Yeah. What I do like about the MLP is they're doing something different, right? Like the team format with they do, I forget the order of it, but I think women's doubles, men's doubles, then they do mixed doubles, right? Yeah. And then it's like team scored. There's also rally scoring, which is different. That's new and different, right? And the rally scoring, even just watching your other podcast with Monica Piekarski, right?
John is the only one who watched Stinking Around. Just want to throw that out there.
But I remember distinctly when she said the change from volleyball scoring, going from I guess traditional side out scoring to rally scoring, and her saying that everyone forgot about it, right? Yeah. That when the sport goes in a direction. I guess if you look back at other sports and leagues, right, as these things change, all that kind of stuff, if it's a better product, I guess that's the key question. Is it the better product overall to watch? And I don't know, right? As a fan of the game, as we watched it, and again, we're established that I'm not a casual fan, right? A little more than that, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed rooting for the team. Right? And I could hear that in the audience for other people. They would just say, hey, let's go Fives, the New Jersey Fives. Let's go Hustlers. Yeah,
like you said, it's so interesting because in general, I think with more money coming into pickleball, whether it be the PPA, the MLP, that's going to attract other talent from, the tennis world where you're either a mid-tier tennis player or you can hop over and try your chances and make better money. Yeah. So I think in the next few years, just talent wise overall, it's going to be an exponential increase, and the top tier players you see today aren't going to be the top tier players you see tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, I agree because, like the game is changing. Right? Yeah. Even as we played from a tennis background, I like topspin. Yeah. And I had learned prior to you and I playing at a certain point, the way that in terms of paddle engineering and all that, spin wasn't or couldn't be done at the level as it is today, which for me, I found to be really, I guess was a bummer because I'm like, wow, I don't even know if I would have enjoyed the game as much
if you couldn't put spin on it.
If I couldn't put as much spin as we can now. Mm-hmm. So, but again, that's more of that. Which again, to your point about these tennis players that come over, they can do that, right? They've got the technique for it, and so then it's a matter of adjusting for the size, right? And obviously not taking away from the effort it takes to be really great at it, but hey, at least your starting point is a much higher spot than starting from scratch. Yeah, right.
Charles, what do you think about this? I don't even know. Oh, come on, we gotta have him. Yeah.
Did it go to sleep?
I did. So one of the interesting things I saw though is Vibe Pickleball.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So part of their
part of the PPA.
Is part of the PPA. And so when Vibe was around, there was something again about a cordial agreement, whereas MLP would essentially be the team style for the PPA. It would act as their team style. They had Vibe coming up. And so that's when they, again, had a discussion, came to some kind of agreement.
Yeah, and then Vibe kind of got pushed to the side.
MLP is the team format. We're going to put Vibe to the side. But now that, they started this competition, the arms race, then at that point, it's like, well, we're bringing Vibe back, right? Because, hey, just because you have a team style doesn't mean we can't do our own team style.
Yeah.
And so, again, I personally, I like competition. I like the idea of,
I do too, and it's going to make each league better in its own way. At least they're going to try to innovate as much as they can until they run out of money or just nobody's following along with them.
Right.
But it is interesting to see because, does this mean the MLP is going to bring like a tour style with them?
They talked about it.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think I forget the number of events, and obviously it could change, but they have their standard team style events, and then they're going to add some tour style events as well. And so, they also, MLP offered some kind of off season, but I don't know how that's going to work. Yeah,
so. The MLP was very descriptive in what they were offering the players, whereas the PPA was just like, we can do better. That's from what I read. Right. There wasn't anything set in stone, but again, they're playing catch up. Just
correct. Yeah.
And it's interesting that when you break it down and look at the talent that the PPA signed and the MLP signed, it seems like the PPA took the highest end talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the MLP took the majority.
Right. Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I would agree. Yeah. And so I think that jives with.
But I'm with you. I love watching the MLP. I love the team format. It's more exciting. I think the PPA was exciting. Not really a fan of the APP. But at least they were smart and have been partnering with other countries. I think they partnered with Australia, but I also think...
Yeah, APP has a different strategy. One of their other things, which is I find interesting as well, APP embracing almost kind of this not feeder style.
But, it feels like a minor league almost.
Yes, exactly. It feels like a minor league. But those, players are the ones who end up in, the championship Sundays, whatever. They're great. They're great.
Oh,
players.
yeah. Then you have Andre Diascu. Shout out. Go Proton. Not a sponsor, but he's the man.
Yeah, Andre and Pesa was also one of my favorite players, local, hearing about him, and then, him playing with Andre.
Yeah, and it's interesting because... Pesa was a part of the Arizona Pickleball League that's going to reboot on September 26th, and he's not allowed to do it anymore because he's signed with the MLP.
Right.
So I don't know if there's any other professional organizations out there that are emulating the Arizona Pickleball League.
I would imagine that.
I would imagine, yeah.
I would imagine, you'd have your potential, your city leagues, right? Yeah. And so maybe some of them are mimicking that style as well. And so, again, like all things that are new, it's a great idea. And so as a great idea, hey, other people picking it up? I know even here in Arizona, we got Pickle Mall, which is the indoor converted Sears or something.
Yeah, Bed Bath and Beyond.
Was it Bed Bath and Beyond?
I don't know. You might be right.
It's huge. Well, whatever it was, gutted it out, put pickleball courts in there, and then they're having tomorrow a MLP style tournament going on. So again,
aren't they doing you can play a pro or whatever, a local pro?
They do that as well. They just, you have some local pros that show up and then you can play against them. I watched one of the games.
Get me versus Michael Lloyd. I'm telling you, I will win. I'll at least score 2 points. Okay. I have a nasty serve.
Yeah. It was great fun watch.
Michael, I love you.
So, but yeah, with that said, right, Pickle Mall's doing it. And so other people, places, cities can do it. It's just, then at that point you have a lot of, I think it highlights what I'd say is the demand for the sport.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm just curious how it's going to affect the Arizona Pickleball League as far as talent, because I know I can't really talk about it, but I know there's some changes coming up with this season that I don't know if is happening, quite frankly, anymore. Okay. Just because people, once you're signed now, it seems like you can't. Yeah, and it's so interesting all of this because next week I read in a statement that Pardo wishes. I mean, he said he would still do the deal.
Yep. Yeah.
With the MLP.
Yeah. So
I don't know. It's just it's tough for me because I did like that. Just okay, they're playing friendly with each other.
Yeah.
I liked both formats in their own respect.
Yeah.
You had the best talent there.
Right. Yeah.
But it's also, you're going to have so much more talent coming in, I think, because there's more money offered to the players.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels to me, again, unable to predict what the future is going to look like. But this, like when you had the NFL mergers with their leagues, as the leagues grew, got bigger, then they just combined.
Yeah.
And so who knows? Maybe it gets there, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I do think that, it did create a bunch of excitement, right?
Yeah.
Which is, it felt like free agency, like who's going to get signed and where are they going to get signed with? So there's a component of that with these changes, right? And like a lot of things, change sucks sometimes, but I don't know. I personally think that it's exciting because then, like you said, innovation. We can have some new things, new styles, whatever. Just try stuff and see what sticks.
Yeah. One thing that's really been bothering me though is the MLP keeps posting Ben Johns in on their Instagram.
Are you talking about for the tournament coming up?
I don't know if it's for the tournament or just general promotion. But,
really?
I mean, that's what are they playing in that?
Supposedly, yeah.
Oh, really?
Because the contracts are for 24.
Oh,
yeah, so
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they're
I kind of just thought it was effective immediately.
Well, that's the part that is confusing because with the way that everything shook out, it's kind of like, are you guys friendly with each other? And so far, it seems like yes, everything is on track. MLP PPA players are still going to play in MLP for Atlanta, and I don't know what's going to happen, but. It sounds like it's going to make for an interesting or awkward MLP.
Yeah. What's funny is before all this went down, I wanted to just talk about how the fact gambling was now going to be part of it, which I think is also going to be huge for the sport because now, I mean, anytime you have a place where people can throw money at it, it's going to attract more eyes. You're going to have degenerate people like any of my friends betting on pickleball.
Yeah, I mean, even let's take that a step further, where you have gambling, and then I don't know how you'll do fantasy pickleball, right? Just like
that's what I'm excited about. So, I'm not even lying. I've been thinking about because I just joined a fantasy football league for the second year. I didn't lose last year, which was nice. But it would be so cool to make a fantasy pickleball app.
Yeah. I mean, again, like you said, as more money comes in,
we should do that. Maybe that's our calling. Podcast Charles is going to fire me after this. Brant, what was the first 2 minutes of that? Well, we're here now.
Yeah. So, no, I agree that gambling, I think right now, right, there's having more eyes on the sport is good for the sport, right? I think there's, again, I keep going back to that community and generally, and I love this quote Charles has. I still remember it, the 8 to 88, right? Anyone can play from age 8 to 88.
Yeah.
And I think that alone, the fact that you have that range of fans, right?
Yeah.
You can, as a player, you play, you're casually. But then in a way, you're, if you can see the sport on TV, however that all ends up shaking out, then you just end up with a broader range of fans. And again, right, gambling brings in more fans.
Yeah.
And then maybe fantasy pickleball brings in even more fans.
And then we're going to be billionaires because we started the app. And then we're going to get in a fight. And then it's going to be like the PPA MLP. What do you think there's anything that the sport of pickleball needs going forward? Like, what's it missing?
Honestly, I was thinking about what I love and what I want to see more of, and it's the 8 to 88 because typically as sports go, you tend to play with your age and skill ranges.
Yeah.
But what does it look like if you can play as kind of this community from 8 to 88? You just have a mixture of kids all the way up.
We need to start a tournament.
and again, it's just for the love of the game.
Yeah.
This idea of we're playing to be out, to, meet new people. Because I've met so many people, so many awesome people playing pickleball that, we know they're there. And I think, you shared your story of an older guy beating you.
Whooping. Everyone's been whooped. It is so funny to me because everyone I've got to got into playing pickleball plays substantially more than I do now. I have a girlfriend. She keeps me locked in. I don't do it as much. I still love it, but I can only go like twice a week now. But I mean, it's just, you play everyone I've got into the sport has just played exponentially more than I do.
Yeah, I think, like, let's talk about this, that it's the love of the game.
Yeah.
And for each person, what does that mean? And I keep hearing over and over community, that the people, right? You ask people what they like about it. It's the people, the community. And so with that said, right, as the sport grows, we're going to get more competitive people, yes, that come in, but don't lose that community. And it reminded me of when I was in Hawaii for a friend's wedding, and I found this weird, I'd call it oasis of a pickleball court.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me.
It's right
about
next
this.
to the beach. It's got overgrown greens on it. It looks really old. It's a little bit cracked. It's got I think like a makeshift net. I'm not really sure. Not a permanent net. But the community that's there, they all know each other, and they have barbecue pits, barbecue grills, right in front. So in a way, you have this kind of like backyard barbecue style where you can just hang and eat and play pickleball.
When there's drinks, there's a bar there. That's what I noticed.
Yeah, and there's a bar there.
Yeah.
But I think that combination of, again, that 8 to 88, there was a huge range of people playing.
Yeah.
People who were visiting from a cruise. It was an older couple. They came to play. They just wanted to play. And that's, to me, that is awesome about pickleball, and we just need to do more of that.
Yeah.
Because Arizona, it's tough where it's hot, definitely, and so, but we end up with these situations where people are just roasting and baking.
Well, it's too hot to play right now, at least during the day. That's what it's so funny. I was just having this conversation yesterday with someone, but it's funny because in Arizona right now seems to be like seasonal depression versus like the Midwest where it's the winter time. But it's like I'm locked up from morning until the sun goes down because it's too hot to get on the course, and you roast. Like,
well, I was thinking about like, you
almost went to the hospital the other day. I just made that so.
You're talking about when I had like
when you got lightheaded,
heat exhaustion.
Yeah.
I got.
He almost died for the love of pickleball.
Yeah, but we can do better though, right?
Yeah.
We can make better pickleball courts that we can not roast in, right?
Yeah.
And that it's a matter of, hey, when we construct these things, can we just construct it with a better outcome in mind, right? Construct it maybe with this idea of let's have better seats that are covered. And
Chad and Nick were talking about the same thing when we had them on, because Nick was hating on Arizona pickleball courts, which he had. I mean,
it's hard.
It's the same point as you. There's no shade.
Yeah.
And you go out and you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You're gonna roast like a marshmallow.
Yeah. So, to me, if you just take what I saw in Hawaii and you just put shade, you put a grill, you have enough seats where people can come watch, hang, and talk. You have that nice combination. And that's where, to me, that's where the beauty of that game is.
Well, that's the good thing about pickleball because, it's indoor.
Yeah.
But it's also, you have to pay for it, which I'm so against for some reason. I do not want to pay to play. That's why... Honestly, why I got into pickleball was so I stopped spending so much money golfing. That is what initially drew me in. I'm like, I just have to buy a paddle for this.
Yeah. We had a lot of outdoor courts, right? This was, what is that, fall, Christmas time?
Yeah.
Right? So, it was cool.
Well, it's crazy how many more courts they've constructed since.
Yeah.
Think about, I started late October, I think. The new courts that have been constructed since then.
And they're still building more. I keep hearing about more, interest in building more courts.
Yeah.
So
now, do you think in the future that it's just going to flop?
Like pickleball?
Yeah. Or do you think it's here to stay? Because in the back of my mind, it's lingering, and I don't want it to. Like, I want it to stay so badly. I love the sport, but in the back of my mind, I'm just like, it could just flop, and then everybody who built pickleball courts is just going to be something, some yoga studio.
They're just empty and going to get converted to something else. I don't know. I think
because there's so many, like, I just don't want it to get oversaturated.
Right.
Which we're involved with it. I mean, I'm directly involved with it. You're just a super fan. You're more involved with it than I am. But it just, so I don't know if it's just we're inundated with all the news of pickleball. Like, maybe it's okay, but I just see it every day and I'm like, oh my God.
Just me reading a thing that I don't know if this is true or not true, but anyway, the rumor that in Florida, the demand for pickleball courts is exceeded that of pools now for houses. Oh. So, and if true, then okay, it'll make its way to other areas where housing is in demand. Yeah. I think a friend was looking at a house and he said that a house with a pickleball court had like 10 plus offers on it compared to others where it was, I think maybe in the single digits. So. Yeah.
One of the things I was seeing, and I just keep seeing this more and more, is just pickleball noise overall, which I don't care about, but I guess if I lived right next to...
Yeah. One of the benefits, at least for us in Arizona, we have more space.
It's spread out.
We have more space. So granted, it's still loud, and I think it's one of those that, we can, it's solvable.
How would you even solve it?
Solve the pickleball
noise issue. Would you have to change the paddles? Would you change the ball?
Yeah. It'd be one of those things. Combination of for the longevity of the sport, right?
Yeah,
you can make adjustments like that. And so, because I don't even know, right? Like all things. Okay, hey, we've got a plastic ball with holes in it. Yeah, we could change that. Right, just like the same thing with the paddles, right?
Maybe that's how we become rich. All right, this is also a brainstorming session, a brainstorming session, if you will.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. I think to answer your question about is it a fad, right? Is it going to die at some point? I hope not. I think what I believe in terms of how it can last is through that community that. Hey, you get to play with, I don't know what it's going to look like in the future, but a grandfather, and then you've got a granddaughter, right? That's awesome to me. And I'd love to play, right? Because just playing for the love of the sport, I feel like for me that's much more enjoyable than anything else. Just seeing more people and bringing more people in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Circling back to MLP PPA, John, if somebody had to win from this and somebody had to lose, who would you want to see winning? MLP?
MLP. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just because for me,
but I think the PPA is going to. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like the PPA is just because they have Vibe already set in place. Yeah. But it's just as easy for the MLP to create their own.
Correct. Yeah, so in both of them, right? It's another arms race. They're trying to retool their leagues.
I don't know. I'd be PO'd if I was an investor for the MLP, just because there's just so much happening, and it's where's my money going? So because I don't know if this devalued the teams at all. I would imagine it did, because you have top talent that just went away. So I
don't know.
So I don't know how that affects their value.
There's a potential that it increased their value because
that's true.
The PPA, I think, as part of their agreement, they had their own teams, and so if you have less teams now, then that revenue gets shared towards everybody else.
Yeah,
and so I don't know what the valuation was for the teams. I had heard it was some nuts number of like millions, and I'm like, I don't know how that. Again, this is beyond me.
Yeah.
But that idea that now that hey, you don't have to compete now does then by removing these other teams, your teams are worth a lot more.
I don't know. Pickleball kind of reminds me of crypto in the worst way sometimes, and that's why I'm so scared for a flop. And it's just like everyone's crypto, crash, and I just don't want to see that with pickleball.
Yeah, I think your difference maybe is that there's people playing as opposed to crypto is just strictly money making.
In the ether somewhere. I don't know.
The idea of investing, making money, whereas pickleball being grounded in sport, playing sport, competing, all that kind of stuff, playing with friends, all of that.
Yeah. I don't know. Should we talk about anything else? I feel like that's really all I wanted to cover, and I did a terrible job at the start. And I apologize for that.
What makes a good start for you? What do you consider a good start?
Well, where I just have a smooth intro.
What is a smooth intro?
I don't know. It's just like, hey, this is John. He's my friend.
Oh, okay. You want a better intro? I have a story for a better intro. You want to?
Yeah,
try?
We're gonna redo the intro right now.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, this is my friend John.
Hi, Brant. Great intro. I love it.
That was a solid intro.
I love it. Well, here I'll lead with then. So thanks for asking me about how I got into pickleball.
Okay, yeah, John. How did you get into pickleball?
I don't know if I told you this story, but pickleball actually for me starts a long time ago with basketball. And so it's yeah, right. I don't think you've started. Yeah. No. So it's basketball and the Navy. And so my dad was in the Navy for 25 years, right? And a byproduct of being a Navy kid is I don't get to see my dad as much.
Yeah.
Right? He'd be gone. He'd be on the ship, and so he'd be gone 3 to 6 months at a time. At some point, it created what I know now to be, an interesting, what I'd call, creates a sense of approval. I'm trying to get my dad's approval because the way I figured, hey, if my dad approves of me, maybe he'll stay.
Yeah.
So I learned he was this great.
This is by far the deepest intro. Actually, Monica's is pretty deep. Keep going.
So all right. So I figured, okay, how do I become a great son? How do I get his approval?
Yeah.
I learned he was a great basketball star. Apparently, in the Philippines, in his community, he was well known. He was great. And I'm like, all right, cool. This is my way to do it. I'm gonna pick up basketball. I'm gonna pick up basketball. Yeah. I'm gonna be great. I'm gonna have the skills, and for whatever kid logic, it's gonna result in my dad not being shipped out to sea anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I keep playing, and getting better, all that kind of stuff. And but for whatever reason, it wasn't the same because in terms of as I got better, he wasn't there. It didn't matter. It was empty.
Yeah.
And so then in 2011, suddenly he ends up passing away, heart attack. And so now I continue playing, but it's different now for me. Now I'm like I don't. What's the point, right? My motivation's gone, and I figured out that my love of the game is actually my love for him.
Yeah.
So fast forward to you talking about pickleball. So now I'm in this almost like a gap.
Well, I mean, just to pause you for a second, I remember also we had a conversation about that in the past. I think it was in the fall. And when I first met John, we didn't say 2 words to each other. I knew his wife. John was always reading a book, wearing a coat. I thought he was going to wear a coat in here. And I was like, I'm severely underdressed. But we have one of our first conversations is we always played sand volleyball and you never joined.
Yeah.
And then we had the conversation of why you didn't join because you were learning how to shift your competitive nature because it was fueled by anger or not anger, but it was approval.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. It was fueled by approval. And I was literally figuring that out. So here you go. You introduce, hey, check out this pickleball game. You talk it up. We start playing and it ignites something for me, right? I think it's the passion of playing, but the difference is I'm playing for me.
Yeah.
Right. And, I think back to how I loved it and the community and I think love is the key word there. Yeah. I absolutely loved it. And I love playing with everyone, no matter who it was. I got smoked by some old dudes. Still loved it then.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was super scared when you got started. That with just how much you played, that competitive nature was going to circle back and rear itself.
Yeah, I mean,
it hasn't, and I think that's a great thing. It speaks for itself.
I mean, it still did when I sprained my ankle. That it did kick in then.
Yeah,
there was a drive to win.
Yeah, he thought he was Michael Jordan. Jumped up on we were beating the team like 10-2, and he jumps up Air Jordan.
It was going way out, and then
lands on his ankle and falls.
Did I ask you if I won the point?
No, you did. And then you're sitting on the ground and like I can't get up. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. So pickleball then is this newfound sport, and it's solely for me.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved it because in a way, it's almost like a lesson that I learned after my dad's death that I can do things for myself and not for my dad's approval anymore. That's why I love it.
Yeah.
It's the love of finding something new, finding something awesome, and the community that goes with it. I keep saying it over and over.
If that doesn't sell you on pickleball, everyone, I don't know what will. Okay. I'm about to cry over it. The lights are, somebody changed the lights in here. Oh my God. Holy cow.
Yes. So that's why I love pickleball. It's great.
Well, that might've been the best intro I've ever heard. And also the best ending. I think I don't really have anything else to talk about.
No,
other than I really did think you're going to wear a coat to here. I was guessing your outfit.
I've mellowed out a little bit.
Are we shifting from that too?
Yeah,
but I like that. That's I will say that's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, it's I pick my spots.
Yeah.
And I think that part of that too is I can't wear a coat and then go pickle, right?
Yeah.
I gotta now blend, like, am I gonna pickle today? And maybe I go with a little more athletic wear.
John and I would go to these tournaments and I would be wearing a cutoff gym shorts, athletic shoes, backwards hat, backpack. I literally looked like one of the pro pickleball players. John's next to me, jeans, sport coat. Literally everyone would look at us thinking you're my agent and I am some big time pickleball player who's just like checking out my competition. I swear that.
No, yeah, I think some of that is right. I don't know, the height disparity.
John would kick my ass in pickleball. He has many times. Yeah. All right. I think that's good. I feel good. Charles, we don't need you. I'm kidding.
I don't know if he's still there.
I don't know. Charles, are you here?
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, that was John Ibanez, one of my good friends. If that didn't sell you on pickleball, I don't know what will. Next week, we'll see if we do an episode. I don't know. It's been difficult. We've been traveling. Charles is a great human. That's all. Bye.